Watching Rachel Meets, broadcast every Wednesday at 8 o'clock on Cablecom Channel 9 and Outtake Community Media YouTube channel. Every week on the show, I meet an up-and-coming musician and someone from Longford that's doing something really amazing to make this a better place to live for everybody. For anyone who's been following the show the last couple of weeks or who follows me on social media will know that I'm all about promoting Irish music. So when a group comes together to promote local Longford Irish music and also wants to put on a gig showcasing all of that, well, when you bring all these like-minded people in a room together to talk about how great the talent is here. I am joined this week by the brains behind Longford Live and Local, the first in a series of gigs which is going to happen in the Backstage Theatre. That is Paul Gurney. And also three of I think 6 amazing acts that is going to be playing on the Friday, and 3 of them that are here are Sean Rooney, Mick Warnock and Paul Hennessy. There's just so many, it's hard to remember, guys. Thanks for joining me.
You're just star-smitten.
I am. All this talent in one room. How can a girl cope?
I mean, I had to bring some normal enough people along with me.
And am I right in saying, is there 6 or is there more playing?
There's, there's a little surprise element in there, so we
won't give that away. You have to go on the night.
Probably would be 6 then, including that, yeah.
Brilliant.
So, yeah, I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 here. Valerie's not here, Valerie Nolan, and then Charlie McGettigan, who's appearing, performing and comparing the show. So, yeah, it's going to be a different format, but it's going to be nice, you know. So
for people who don't know what Longford Live and Local is, tell us all about it.
Okay, Longford Live and Local came out of, now I'm going to be brutally honest here. There's a friend of mine up in Sligo called Kieran Quinn who runs a gig regularly in the Hawksville Theatre. And it's been so successful that I thought, why don't we do something similar in Longford? You have all these fantastic, talented people sitting around doing nothing. If I wanted to see Paul Hennessy sing, where would I go? Where would you go? Where would Lisa go? Do you know what I mean? If you wanted to see Sean Rooney sing, I was lucky enough to sit front row in the orchestra of the musical last year. I got to see Sean every night, but other than that, I couldn't see Sean. And I mean, God, this guy should be on the front of every magazine. He should be, he should be.
Oh, I agree. Actually, all of the magazines.
He should be singing the top gigs in the world. But he's not going to be unless somebody gets to see him. So, I mean, you know, it's the first step, hopefully, in that progression. The same thing with Mick. Me and Mick have worked together for 20 years maybe? Unfortunately, but give or take a bit. You know, and again, one of the finest voices in this country. And I guarantee you, people will come away from that gig Friday night saying, I never heard Mick Warnock sing like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, they've heard him with Audio Pilot, they've heard him sing rock, they will not have heard him sing what he's going to be singing, you know, on Friday night, or the way that he's going to be singing it. So, you know, we're trying to open doors here, Rachel, trying to just give a platform. You know, we're looking at theme nights down the road. The next night is already booked. We don't have the date confirmed, unfortunately, but we're looking at mid-term February.
Okay, brilliant.
And it's going to be Bands Night, so we're featuring Reprisal, Dissension Rising, and Brave Giant.
Excellent.
On that night. So then we'll move it forward after that. We'll probably maybe have a songwriters night. We'll have a country night, we'll have an Irish night, we'll have whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Something for everyone.
Absolutely. As long as it's Longford Live and Local, it works.
You are originally from Leitrim, but how long have you been living in Longford? Quite a long time, I'd say.
Oh Lord. Believe it or not, I'm probably more of my life in Longford now than I was anywhere else. You know, so that's like 5 years now.
Because you are heavily involved through your recording studio, the Rose of Tralee, putting gigs on. There's so much stuff in music in Longford that you're involved in. Just how much talent is there in this county?
How much?
Yes.
Loads of it. Absolutely. Probably more or as much than anywhere. Longford's always been blessed that way. Going back, when I came to Longford first, your granddad, Brian Harkin, had all these wonderful Longford musicians around him. You had other musicians that came into the town because you had bands like Dermot Hegarty and you had Brian Harkin and you had, I mean, look, we jokingly call Drumnish Nashville because you have Busy Fingers, you have Declan Nerney, you have Mick Flavin, you have Night Fever, you have Noel Cassidy. I mean, there's more country music in Drumnish than there is in Nashville. You know. I mean, talk about talent. It's just, maybe it's because it's such a central county, but it just seems to, it absorbs that musical talent all the time. It's just full of it, you know. And people like to be in Longford. It's always been a great kind of a base for music, hasn't it? You know, unfortunately, with the kind of the downward trend of the pub scene, you know, you don't see it as much as we used to. There was one stage that we could do the tour along for, couldn't we? Without repeating ourselves. You could go from pubs like the Tangled Web, up to the Distillery, over to Rara, up to the Bowron, up to the Misty Midlands.
That sounds like one hell of a night.
And we pay a tune in each one.
Of course, people could say, well, you know, there's the Marquee and Drumlish, but what you're trying to emphasise is these things don't happen once a year, they can happen all of the time.
Exactly, and that's the point. I mean, even the lads in Brave Giant too, I think, again, they're the band version of Sean Rooney. They're who I would love to see up the top. I would have no problem paying €100 for a ticket to see either act in the RDS or in the O2 or whatever it's called these days. You know, it used to be the Point.
I don't know.
I still call it the Point.
Yeah. We used to slag years ago. We used to say last night I was gigging in the Point, Ross's Point,
Spanish Point.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, fantastic band. Again, yeah, you get to see them in the Marquee of Drumlish. I know they're running their own gig in backstage, which is also and deservedly a sellout.
Yes.
But I mean, other than that, where is there?
And just on the subject of younger Longford musicians, Paul, you're very heavily involved in. Obviously, you run the Evolution Music School or Stage School, so you'd be heavily involved in working with really young Longford talent. And how much emerging talent is coming out of the county?
Loads of emerging talent, and Paul will tell you, like, we have a lot of kids go to the studio from time to time, and like we have kids from age 4 up to 19 at the moment, and some of them have actually gone, who have been with us a few years, have gone on actually onto college and doing music in college and dance in college as well. But there's a huge amount of talent in Longford. But you know, this Longford Live and Local, hopefully they'll all get involved in it in a couple of years' time as, you know, as singers or whatever, bands, because what Paul is doing is great. And I just want to say something about Paul Gurney. Paul Gurney is actually fluent in music. That's a fact.
Yeah.
You know,
Fluent in some other things.
Some people are fluent in language, but he's fluent in music. He can do everything. You know what I mean? But I mean, there are like amazing kids out there. Like we've schools in Roscommon as well, and up like a few miles up the road, serious amount of talent, singers, whatever. They're just incredible. So something like this will be something I think in the future for them to maybe Paul is even talking about maybe one or two of the girls, the older girls in school or boys in school, coming and being a guest on one of the gigs sometime, which would be fantastic as well, because there is really nowhere for them to sing other than, or perform other than our show, you know what I mean? You know, and they love doing that, and we put on a big show and stuff, but for them to do it somewhere else, amazing, you know?
Yeah.
A different show, because then they're not coming in as part of the school, they're coming in as themselves then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is fantastic.
But it's all a progression, Rachel, really. I mean, you can only play so long in your own bedroom. At some stage, it's got to get out there into the real world, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's when the thing actually advances and
Yes.
really starts to happen for any musician, you know. And it's like working under that level of an actual proper gig that you really start to progress and learn what your craft is about.
And just on that, Sean, is kind of directed at you, but you're all welcome to answer as well. You have done really well getting your music out there through Facebook, which a lot of musicians will say now, if it wasn't for social media, there'd be no way to get their music out there. Like, if social media didn't exist, but everything still was the same as it is now, how would you get your music out there?
I've no idea. It wouldn't be from playing local gigs anyway.
No.
You know, there's very little happening. There might be the odd bar now and then, but if for original music, there's very little happening. You know, there's very little going on. You have to travel to the likes of Dublin or Galway or something. You know, big like cities, just to play 5 or 6 songs at a session somewhere. You know, to get your original music out there. Which it might be worthwhile, but it can be, you know, if the funds are low, it can be hard to afford to go up there just to play 5 or 6 songs. So I think it's important to have something locally, you know, something that's going to keep kind of progressing and moving on and getting everybody involved, like, you know. Yeah, I think it's pretty important, because without social media, it's just not happening.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Guys, you've all done really well in your respective fields musically, but if you were Sean's age now, just emerging, how do you think you'd do?
Oh God.
Very, very, very tough, you know.
Yeah.
Like I've seen it go from the scene where a record company would pay huge amounts of money to record an act like Sean, distribute it, market it, put it out there, get it on the shelves, to now it's the complete opposite, where Sean has to pay to record it, pay to get it out there, pay to put it on the shelves even.
Yeah.
And you know, it really is a complete turnaround. Somebody, I think one of the top guys in IMRO described it one day to say that the musician hasn't yet learned how to use the internet. You know, in that sense of using it for their own advantage. Like years ago, when I started recording, you did a recording, you had your tape at the end of it, you had a cassette tape or whatever, and you made a few copies of that and you threw it around until you actually got proper copies done. But the only people that got to hear that were the ones that you actually handed it to. You know what I mean? Whereas now, there's a market out there instantly of like 5 to 6 billion people on the end of an internet. But yet, we're not selling music. So it's gone horribly wrong somewhere along the lines. You know, and that's why even more importantly, to come back down now to the live performance. You know, that's where it's at really. That's the only way that I can kind of inspire you with my music, is by actually performing to you in that sense. You know, because everything else is the free download, it's the instantly available kick of music that has just really, unfortunately, degraded it down to nothing.
But in that sense, is it difficult to get people to go to gigs, or how receptive have you found Longford people, say, throughout the years to supporting this kind of stuff, even with Evolution or with anything?
Well, I think, that, again, the initial hardest part of that is getting people to go out at all.
Yes.
People are finding the time still very hard. They haven't seen the recovery, and probably aren't definitely going to, due to any help in the budget they're going to get tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? So getting people to go out in the first place is hard work. A lot of musicians find themselves doing work for nothing, just to get seen, just so that you can expose your craft and say, look, here's what I do. Maybe you'd enjoy come and see me do it again sometime. You know, and putting your wares out there. But unfortunately, it's you know, it really is. It's the downside of hard times.
Yeah.
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 I think another point on that is that I wouldn't agree with shows like the X Factor and stuff like that. I don't think it would help Sean's cause, because people are sitting at home, pressing the remote control, watching the telly, flick it on, flick it off. Where years ago it used to be you had to get up, you had to go out, and you had to support someone like Sean. Whereas music is so accessible now that, you know, it's just become too commonplace. Whereas if you look at old acts like Queen, David Bowie, all the greats, people went out with their hard-earned money, saved for a CD, bought the CD, opened the CD, looked what was inside it. It wasn't a personality competition, it was who's the most talented. And when you can write songs and sing as good as Sean, it puts it in it puts him in a position where, like, people, I'm sure, have been saying to him, why don't you go for the X Factor and this and that and the other, but I think he's above that, you know.
Please don't go for the X Factor,
It's-
Sean.
You know, but you know, it shows like that, for me, that are
Yes.
ruining music
It
in a
is,
way.
yeah,
It
absolutely.
has degraded it. Okay? You're dead right. YouTube is another one of those funny things that, even though it should be a good promotional tool, it's actually working to counter the live performance thing as well, because
Yeah.
it's now down to a stage of, all right, we'll go down there and see me man. Me man's a great guitar player, you know. Ah, Jesus, man.
Just watch him on
3-year-old
YouTube.
on YouTube last week playing 4 guitars at the one time.
Yeah.
3
Yeah.
of them behind his head while eating his dinner with his foot at the same time. Like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just silly stuff. And you know, it's not stuff it doesn't relate to the real world either. You know what I mean? People are not going to go out along for tonight to see a 3-year-old playing 4 guitars behind his back.
But those
It's not gonna happen,
those
but-
talent competitions, I think, they're all about making a TV show, and that's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Like Simon Cowell decides, no, I want X, Y, Z on my program.
Yeah.
They might have picked their eventual winner early on in it,
Yeah.
Oh,
which
yeah.
is very obvious to see there is somebody really good, and they need to put a program around that. So that's why they'll pick all these
Yeah.
people that you wouldn't necessarily go and see tomorrow night playing.
Yeah.
There's uproar about people saying, why did they pick her and why did they pick him?
Because it makes
They're
good
making a TV show,
Mm.
and that's
Mm.
what it's all about, and that's all they want. Like, he doesn't care.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is down to as well, music isn't tangible anymore. You download it, but there's no such thing as holding a CD anymore or buying a ticket.
Yeah.
Where before it would have been, people would have a lot more appreciation for the physical aspect of the music.
Yeah.
Now it's downloaded or stream it on YouTube.
That's right,
And
Yeah.
It's not
And
a
it's-
product anymore.
yeah.
You know?
But even iTunes, like Apple Music, whatever, you don't even have to download it now. You just go into the radio thing and put up any song you want and play it.
Yeah.
The whole album. You don't even have to buy it. You can have the album there on your phone and never buy it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still a massive advocate for the physical hard copy CD.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mostly due to the fact that where I live has such horrendous broadband. we won't get into that.
That's another show.
You know, but I'm just saying, like, you know, there's still people like me out there who like to have that physical CD, you know.
Do you know the way years ago you used to wait for the vinyl record to come into Denniston's or whatever to buy it?
Right.
That's like you now with the broadband, you see.
Yeah.
You order your song,
Yeah.
click the button and then wait a week for it.
And the vinyl is actually making a comeback. I was in Dennis.
The vinyl is making a comeback.
Last week, bought a few albums and it's great.
Yeah.
It's great to see them back.
That's where you go wrong, you see. You could
That
actually
must
have
be
the
it.
vinyl copy quicker than the
Down the
download.
download. Yeah, you're right. He's right.
How frequently would any of you either go to a live gig in Longford or play a live gig in Longford? Sean, I know we have done 2 in the last couple of months where
Yeah.
we've put on live gigs together, but that's just people who want to listen to music putting it on because there's nowhere else to go. So what option is there for people?
There's none.
There isn't.
There's none. I've worked up and down the country, Rachel, for certainly the last 6 months anyway. I've been back on the road, and Longford, unfortunately, has not been one of the venues at all. It's not there. Not there, literally. You know, and I played, I'm not blowing me trumpet, I'm trying to make a point. I played festivals all over the world. I haven't played Longford,
Wow.
you know. I've been available to play Longford,
Yes.
but I haven't played Longford.
Wow. That's something.
You know, so yeah, I don't mind. I'm working anyway, but you know, no.
But it must
is
be
a
very
point.
frustrating to not be able to play a gig in your hometown. Again, Sean and I have put on 2 gigs, one in July and one in September.
Yeah.
But that was just because I really wanted to listen to music, so I had to go and put it on somewhere.
Yeah.
It's just not free to
You see,
go.
there is a pub scene in Longford as such, but it's a different scene to what Sean is trying to achieve. You know, I still do a few gigs around town on Valentine's and that, but it's a different thing. And then when Audio Pilot was going, we used to do the Red Room, which was a great spot
That was
in
brilliant.
its day. And hopefully something like that can open up again, and you know, house the likes of Sean, you know, and have different nights and stuff like that. But I think that's the kind of angle that Paul is trying to get at,
Yes.
is to try and showcase good talent in a good venue. Hopefully people will get out and support it, you know.
Yeah. Well, my greatest fear is that there'll be a whole generation that will grow up never having seen a musician play live. You know, like we had a great example years ago. Now it was a good while back with Kellyanne, our own daughter. I think what happened was that Dario had bought Edel the Live Aid DVD set for Christmas or something like that. So one of the nights we were all sitting in and we put it on. Now, Kellyanne was young enough. But we put it on anyway, and all the bands were playing away, and Queen and all the fantastic music, you know, from Live Aid and Wembley. And then Kellyanne turned around and she says, "Yeah, Mammy, that's all fine, but they're all miming." We said, "Actually, Kellyanne, they're not. They're playing. They really are playing." And she was just knocked out by this, like, that the fact that that was actually being performed there and then on the stage. No gimmickry, no trickery, you know. And that's what's going to happen now, is that there'll be a whole generation that are just used to some fella standing there with a backing track or whatever, and all this wonderful music coming out of everywhere, but nobody's doing anything. You know, they'll have never seen a musician perform.
It's hard to imagine that Thin Lizzy and Jules Holland once played in Longford, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And now it's like the
Yeah.
musicians are putting on gigs themselves just to go and
Yeah.
see something.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
even the Banjo Festival was great. I remember the buzz that was around the place when that would rock into town. Like,
Yeah.
that's gone as well. When was the last time that was on? Yeah.
A couple of years, yeah.
It's a couple of years, like so.
Yeah, it's got to be a mad world, you
It's
know.
mad.
But there's,
Yeah.
like, as Paul said, like the bedroom thing, there's so many guys like Sean around the town as well, like young guys who I've seen up in your studio as well. Amazing talent, like, but the only place they're playing like is at home maybe, but that's it. There's no outlet for their stuff at all, like, which is, you know, as you said, Mick, it'd be great to have a venue in town as well, like a smaller, like, apart from backstage, a smaller little venue that, you know, like,
Yeah.
well, there's a night on next week, there's great musicians, there's great bands on, and young fellas.
Yeah.
For them to go and actually stand on a stage with a sound system and realise what it's actually like to do it. You know, these are only young fellas and they're amazing. They're writing songs as well. They're brilliant.
Rich, I'd say you'd be surprised how many people in Longford have never stood in backstage.
That's unimaginable, really. Wow.
What a fantastic theatre.
It's one
what
of the
a
best-
facility. You know?
It is, yeah.
Actually, an example, I went on theatre circuit this year with the Backstage Theatre Group for a performance they were doing, and the other theatres in the other towns that we were going to were just like the Temperance Hall, just your local town hall that had a stage, and they all had a drama festival. But yet Longford doesn't have a drama festival, but it has the best theatre. Apart from Roscommon, say, Longford has the best theatre in the Midlands.
Yeah.
And it was just fascinating to see these smaller villages, like Kiltyclogher and all these places, Carrigallen, and these tiny
That's
town
where I'm
halls.
from,
I know, yeah, and they were pointing out your house to me.
Yeah.
That's where Paul
Skin
Gurney's
building,
from.
like, yeah.
But yeah, and that we don't have something like that here. There's just not enough people to drive it, I guess.
Yeah. And
And that's
even
what the
if
music's
there
like.
were even small rumblings of Backstage finding it hard financially, what is wrong? That should even, be a possibility. It should never happen.
Is it a case that people are not getting the opportunity maybe to see something live, like a live theatre performance, so they don't know what they're missing? I don't know. Maybe
Yes.
they're not, is it the youth of today that are like, not
We're a lost
interested or just
cause.
don't know what it's like? Because for me, there's no greater feeling than performing on stage.
Oh, yeah.
And second to that, there's no greater feeling than watching your favourite artist or somebody you admire performing on stage live. Live performance. It's something that's in the moment
Yeah.
and is fleeting and gone forever once it's happened. That's special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really something special. So
That's the point.
you need to have somewhere to be able to watch that,
Yeah.
to see it, experience it. It's an
Yes.
experience.
It's
One
very-
thing people say, sorry Richard, one thing people say about Backstage is the atmosphere in the theatre is incredible. No matter what's on. Like if you go on and you see people doing reviews and stuff, everyone's on about the atmosphere. That's what we love going there with the stage school as well. You go in there and you're just made so welcome like we're in there from Sunday to Sunday this year with get-ins and shows and rehearsals and whatever. But the place is nearly your own for the week, you know what I mean? There's no hassle with to come up and look after us and say we're going out now and you know what I mean, do what you need to do and give us a shout.
It's that lovely sense of excitement,
Oh,
isn't
it's
it?
brilliant.
Yeah.
The atmosphere in the place is just, whether you're on the stage or, as Sean said, in the audience, the atmosphere in that place is just, I love it. It's amazing.
And in fairness to everyone up there, they do a great job.
Oh,
of
they're
it.
They
brilliant.
do, yeah.
Great.
They're great at promoting and
Yeah.
getting stuff
But
out
as Paul
there.
said, it's
giving
sad to
people
see
the
that a
opportunity.
theatre like Backstage would have funding cut like by the Arts Council in the last few years. It's crazy, like.
And that it's underutilised by people going to shows
Yeah.
and that
Crazy.
people might not have ever been there.
Yeah.
Mad.
It is mad, yeah.
Yeah, and is it that I know people kind of when I was putting on the gigs in John Brown's, or well, I still do. It gets very disheartening when you're trying to do these things and people just don't show up, and you've promoted it everywhere, and it's like, well, how do you get it to people? And then people say, well, I never heard of that. How is it on?
Yeah.
So how do you get it out there to people, or how has say the reaction been? And the interaction on your Facebook and everything for this gig?
So far, very good. I mean, any messages or any feedback has been really, really positive, really good. A lot of the Sligo gang actually have been messaging me privately and that, wishing us all the best and hoping that
Great.
it really goes, and everybody's hoping for the best. It is a strange situation. I mean, it's kind of like, you see these things on Facebook every now and again where you get, or you don't get, we say, a restaurant. You don't get Kevin McKieran coming out and saying, do you know what, lads, come in here now and put up a free steak for the whole lot of you. And sure, then you might come back and buy one off me the next night. But that's what musicians are doing all the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're literally putting ourselves out there for nothing all the time and saying, you know what, if you like what I do, then maybe the next time I'm doing a paid gig, you might come along.
And they won't.
Because
They'll have to pay in the door.
And then you think, Jesus.
Sure, I saw him before. Why would
Even when I'm giving it for nothing,
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's tough. I think there's a shift in the dynamic socially as well in the past sort of 10 years, 10, 15 years maybe, because it seemed to be, there was more of a sort of a thriving pub scene, sort of back in the day before everything kind of collapsed. And I think that social element is missing a little bit right now.
Yeah.
Where you
Agreed.
don't have people talking about things
Agreed,
that are coming up,
Yeah.
I mean, I remember I just caught the tail end of, as Mick was saying, the Red Room, I was only like, you know, just about that age where I could go. And it was
Don't lie, Sean, we couldn't go, but we went anyway.
You see right through me.
No, I was
there too.
I was the same as that.
But this was the thing, you know, we heard about it. We heard about these things because we were around. You know, people were mixing more or something. I don't know what it is, but there would be an excitement about the gig.
Sense of
you know,
isn't it?
yeah.
I remember John Kelly telling me, a friend of ours up in Sligo, John went to see Thin Lizzy. This is only now the new Thin Lizzy, we say, about 2 or 3 years back. And he said it was the first time in years that he'd gone to a gig, and there was this sense of, when you stood there was a huge PA system either side of the stage. And oh, Jesus. You know, and you were waiting for it. Like.
Yeah.
And you see, people don't get that anymore.
No.
You know, they don't go to a gig and they never think, oh, Christ, the sense of, come on, you know, let's get going at it. There's none of that anymore. It's all, everything that is for enjoyment is instant, you know, and if it's not, then gone.
Yeah.
It is happening though in other towns. There is a good music scene going on in other towns, and unfortunately Longford just seems to be lagging a bit. But I think if somebody takes the initiative to just say, right, I'm going to do this, I still think it would work.
Okay.
I still think there's enough good bands in the country to fuel a venue, and then locally as well, I think there's enough talent that could fuel it as well. But it's just for somebody to do it right now, not
You mean
stuck
an entire venue rather
not
than
stuck in a
like
corner now, not like a proper venue, as Paul said. That when you walk in, there's a stage. It's proper. It looks the part.
Freedom's kind of a gig.
Yeah.
That kind of.
Yeah. Do you know? So
sure, all we can do is keep trucking with what we're doing.
yeah.
And that's it, I suppose, with what I'm doing with the Longford Jam and you're doing on a bigger scale with Longford Live and Local. We just need to start and keep going. And if people go the first time, they might tell their friends, and like Sean said, word of mouth, and that's all we can hope for.
That's it.
Right, so to finish from E.T., why is Longford Live and Local so important for the community, and why should people go along?
Because people are so blessed to have such talent around them, and they deserve to have that talent there to work for them. Simple as that.
Sure.
From a personal point of view, I would say that it is fantastic to be able to showcase what you do to people locally. Instead of having to go far afield to play to people that you don't even know or you haven't met before, it's nice to have people around that you're familiar with and that mightn't have seen you play before. You know, they can come and see what you do, what you pour your life into. You know, that for me is great to have somewhere locally to do that. That's just, it's fantastic. People should get out and support it.
Paul?
Well, I just think people are not going to get the collection of artists that they're going to have on Friday night ever again, maybe together.
Never.
Like you might get one of us doing a gig somewhere, a concert some night, but the collection that's actually here on Friday night is like you shouldn't be paying whatever the ticket is. It should be a lot more, in my opinion, because it's a serious night.
It's amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
Not blowing our own trumpets, but it is a serious night.
Well, I am, so absolutely it is.
But it's a serious night of top artists, like top professional artists who will go
real
out there
professionals who have played stages all over the world and who will soon play stages all over the world. And now you can see them right here in Longford.
Right here in Longford, yeah.
And
I'm just looking forward to sharing the stage with the guys here and the girls as well. I've never sung in the backstage. And never know.
There we go.
For a treat, though.
So, for me it's great. I think it's a very positive idea, and I think that the right people are behind it, and Paul will push it on, and no better man, I think it'll be great.
Absolutely. So tickets are €15, is that correct?
€15, yeah, and selling big time. So
yeah, so get them quick.
Yeah, and it's not a spin line, but really get in there and get your ticket because
you'll be disappointed.
Yeah,
that's great to hear. Really great to hear.
Good stuff.
Sean, you're going to sing us out with a song.
Yeah.
What are you going to play for us?
I don't know.
Okay, we'll be right back. So we'll just end. Thanks very much for watching. Do go on to backstage.ie or go up to the Backstage Theatre or Farrell & Coy's as well. Do stock tickets for the Backstage. Longford Live and Local, €15. Amazing artists. You'll never see them in one venue ever again. You'll be missing out. Friday night, you can't get a better night than that. Thanks for watching, and do tune in again next week.
Waiting such a long time to call you mine. You've got it together, baby, and but I am on the side, searching for another to occupy my time, searching for another I just cannot seem to find. Now as we sit to see the moonlight come, I swear there'll never be another one. You're like a fresh morning in June. Won't you say you feel the same way? Got a glint in her eye, like a clear night sky. With a telescope I would look to her star sign. Ordinarily, astrology holds no water for me, but I'm grasping at straws, seeking out a cause. Now as we sit to see the moonlight come, I swear there'll never be another one. You're like a fresh morning in June. Won't you say you feel the same way? And baby, I don't believe it meant to be. Ooh, but honey, your loving blows in like a summer breeze. Oh, sweetie, you carry the warmth of the world with you. Darling, won't you carry me along too? Now as we sit to see the moonlight come, I swear there'll never be another one. You're like a fresh morning in June. Won't you say you feel the same way? Now as we sit to see it set inside, I swear there'll never be another one. You're like a fresh morning in June. Won't you say you feel the same way too?